We love you. I'm going to talk about the Mcstay case, the family murders inside the Mcstay family. I'm just going to start it off as Chase Merritt is a friend and a business partner of Joseph Mcstay. He says that he went to have some brunch or something at his house to talk about the business. There were some concerns, major concerns going on in the business, like serious, and it was like fraud. Things were not adding up on Joseph's part because apparently he had been getting a lot of complaints and have to start returning money that he didn't have, and something about the material that this fountain part was made out of. It looks like somebody was taking some shortcuts and it didn't look good for business. So that's kind of uh, how that first started. Um, the Mcstay family moved to California for a new life and a happy-go-lucky family. You know, people liked them and all those things. And they were newly married and they had two children, 3 and 4, two little boys. And he discovered, like, invented this piece that goes on a fountain. I don't know if it's some copper piece or whatever. So he thought, my God, I've invented something. I'm going to make some money out of this. I'm going to try. So he talks to his dad about it and was so excited, saying, this is what I've done. This is what I want to do. I've worked it out. I'm going to start in my garage, start my business, set up a website. You know, he had all these plans and he was so happy about it because he knew that he had invented something great, you know, and he's going to make it. So his dad goes, asks a little bit about it, and he tells him, he says, well, how much can you make it for? Well, this piece, he said, Dad, I can make it for like $22 and I can sell it for like 200 and some dollars. So there's a profit here. I can make money out of it. I just need to start small and work my way up, because you don't have that much money. This is a dream. So that's how that began. And so the process began. He started building uh, his business up, and it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, where, he couldn't sustain it inside his garage. And plus, the demands and the orders were coming in, and he just didn't have the money flow. So I think this is where this man, Chase Merritt, comes in, to go into business with him and to give him money to help with the money situation. And they can make a killing, I guess. So that's how that started, how he came into the picture. So as time goes by, like I said, there was trouble. The piece that he made was some cheap material, I guess, wasn't working, and there was tons of complaints about it. And so this is why he wanted to talk to his business partner and friend. What are you doing? You know, um, the material you're using. He must have said, why? Why are you using that? No, you got to use the other material. We can't skimp on this. We have to have it made that way. That's the deal. That kind of thing. And it looks like this man Merritt may have been pocketing some money, because I don't think Mr. Mcstay knew about that until later on. That's why they wanted a discussion, a major discussion about this and what's going on. So he was at the house that morning, and apparently he was the last one to have spoken to them, because he had spoken to his father Patrick earlier. Um, but I'm not sure how much earlier. Like, it could have been a day or something like that. And so anyway, he told his dad the night before, or the day before, or sometime, that he has a $16,000 check to deposit. So maybe this was a check from Chase, I think his name, Charles Merritt. He may have gave him a check so he could put it in the bank and start covering some of the fees that he's incurring. That's a possibility. That's probably what did happen. That's where the check came from. But anyway, the check, 16,000. Remember that. Well, anyway, and then suddenly the family's gone missing. He's supposed to deposit the check in the next day, and I guess he told his father after he talked to Merritt, and the family goes missing. They just upped and left, like in a hurry. It looked like they left in a hurry. Dropped everything they were doing, and they were even eating. Eating. So who does that? Who does that? Well, anyway, they go missing. His father doesn't hear from him. He can't get a hold of him. He's a calling. Nobody's coming home. And then around 6 days later, also, Chase Merritt, he decides, oh, well, I'll go around the house. I'll go around the house and check on things. So he goes to the house, and he can't see anybody, and the doors are locked. At this time, I don't think he went in the house, but he's saying, oh, nobody's around, nobody's answering the door, and the dogs are outside. But the dogs are getting fed and watered. The dogs are getting fed. Anyway, a couple more days go by, and he's thinking somebody's feeding these dogs. Somebody's feeding the dogs, but we don't know who. So I'll go back there in a couple more days and look around again. So he goes to the house and says, yep, the dogs are getting fed and they're getting watered. Somebody must be feeding them. Really? Okay, then. Well, about 11 days later, the police are called, and they go to the house, because this time his dad is just like really worried. I mean, he wants the police over there to see what's going on. He wants them to get inside the house and look around. So the police come. They get inside the house, and they look around, and there's no sign of nobody. It doesn't look like there's a sign of murder in there. I mean, like blood or things like that. But he does notice that there's food on the plates, and I've been there for a long time. There's flies and all that kind of thing. It's just, it looks like they were eating and then vanished. Like, a spaceship came up and zoomed them up or something, just like that. But her neighbor said that back in February 2010, this is when they disappeared, um, that they see his SUV drive away from the house. So he thought it was them. But you know what? It might have been them, but it might not have been him driving the van. They probably didn't take that much notice. They just knew the SUV they were in. They knew their neighbors and what cars they drive. So that's what the neighbor said. But still no sign of the family. No phone calls, nothing. But when they go into the house and search a little bit more, I guess they might have gone on to the computer. See, I don't know why they didn't check for fingerprints, but they didn't think it was a crime scene. They weren't acting like it was a crime scene, and they wasn't like worried. So the police did a bad job right from the get-go. They really let this case down, you know. So, I mean, anybody else, would have been really worried, but the police didn't seem to do much right away. But anyway, they do a search or something, and they find a search like for Mexico or something. So they're thinking, well, the family just upped and went on vacation. Do they have to tell people where they're going or anything? Well, sure. His dad would have known if he was going on any kind of vacation. Oh, yeah. But anyway, so what they do is, I guess they try to get video from the border. And this is when they see surveillance of a family of four, man and woman and two children. But this is dark, and you really can't see very well. So, but they're thinking, well, this could be them walking across the border. But you know what? Why would a man that's got a car walk across the border? You would drive across the border, right? So it's kind of looking suspicious there, but what they want to do is notify the public and kind of, they got it out on the news, and then kind of see if anybody would come forward and say, hey, that was me. That was me walking across with my family, and so they can put that part of the case behind them and go on, go forward with the case. Okay, it's not them. Okay, cross that one off, type of thing. But anyway, a close friend said to the police that that's not him, and I know it is. It's not him at all. I know his walk. He walks like a duck. Not to be funny, but that's how he walks, waddles, kind of like a duck. He said, so I know that is not him. So, okay then. So, time goes by. And then, they want to talk to Chase, Mr. Merritt. they want to talk to him because apparently he's the last one to have had a conversation with them that day before they went missing. Because nobody's seen him since the day he spoke to him, you know. So the police talked to him, questioned him, and he's under suspicion. You know, he's under the radar. And Patrick's dad said he knows something and he is lying. And he said, here, keep him close, keep an eye on him, because he believes he has something to do with it. Something to do with them going missing. Does he know where they are? Where has he gone? My son's got a business to run, you know. And of course, you know, he spoke to his dad about the problems he's having with this guy. So it's sounding really suspicious. He said, what are they, you know, what's he done with them? Did he do something to them? Don't know. But he says, but he's going to keep a close eye on them. Well, as time goes on, this case gets cold, very cold. They have no leads, only suspicions, and they don't have enough for any arrest yet. So, you know, the case goes cold and they move on to the next one, you know, like they do. Until one day on the 11th of November, 2013. Now, they've been missing 4 years now. They've been missing since February 2010, and now it's November 2013. Some people were walking in the desert, you know, in California, and they stumble across two bodies. Two bodies in a shallow grave. And of course, you know, there's skeletons, you know, and they're been out there. Well, they didn't know how long they've been out there, but there's skeletons, and they found two bodies, so they called the police. They call the police, and the police and the detectives come to the area and search. And they search a bit more. And while they're searching, they find two more bodies. Two more bodies. But these bodies were small. Two children. Now they're thinking, my God, could this be the missing Mcstay family? Two adults and two children. So they preserve the area and they start collecting evidence. Evidence like, you know, there's some tire tracks around the area, you know, they're collecting some scattered pieces, you know, like 100 pieces or something, and a hammer. A hammer or something like that. Well, anyway, they had 100 pieces of stuff that they collected. So as that goes on, and then the word gets out, you know, that they have found the bodies. And this was on TV. It was on TV quite a bit. But, you know, 4 years went by and, you know, people kind of forgot about the case. And then it comes back to life 4 years later. But these bodies, I mean, they must have had a brutal death because their head is smashed in. All four of them, their heads were smashed in. So they know that they were killed with some blunt force trauma. Now, who'd want to kill this friendly, go happy family as everybody said they were. Now, Jerry is a friend, a close friend, and I don't know how he got into this situation, but he ended up with Chase, the Mr. Merritt, going into the desert somewhere. Mm, I don't know. They were searching for gold or something like that. I don't know what they were searching for. But as they were talking and stuff like that, I don't think this Jerry really knew who he was. I don't understand that part. Maybe I didn't hear it right. But as they were talking and stuff, and he'd only known this guy for 5 weeks. 5 weeks. So anyway, so he didn't really know him, and he probably didn't know much of him. I don't understand that. Perhaps he didn't tell him who he was at first. That's my guessing. But in the end, he says to Jerry, "Oh, you don't know who I am. You don't know who I am." And then he tells him who he is, and then he proceeds to talk bad about Joseph's wife, Mrs. Mcstay, saying what a bitch she is and this and that. He didn't like her, and she does this, she does that. You know, he starts putting her down, and it gets Jerry worried. He's thinking, my God, you know, we're out here in the middle of nowhere, and, you know, I think he's thinking he might end up dead or something. He was getting really worried, and they were just talking, and he was just going on and on and on and on. So anyway, he gets home safely. Thank God, he gets home. I think he was worried that he'd never get out of the desert or somewhere, wherever the hell they were. And he goes and talks to the police when he gets home and tells them what crazy, weird, scary conversation he's just had with Mr. Merritt. And I guess it scared him and the details. So he proceeds to tell him what he said and how he talks bad about him. Supposed to be being good friends, but he's not talking that way. And anyway, his probably wife knew. His wife probably knew he was frauding the company. They probably had words about it, probably that day when they went missing. So he doesn't like her for a reason. So once again, Mr. Merritt's on the police radar. The radar is going up again. Especially this cold case has come back to life. It's got warmed up. So they call him in to question him about this conversation that they've had. And they carry on having conversation. And then it looks like on the 5th, about a year later, 2014, Chase Merritt, Charles, was arrested and charged with 4 murders. So they must have had a great deal more evidence that he's a suspect, and he was charged. And then comes November the 12th, 2014. He was obviously arraigned and pleaded not guilty. And the press dubbed him the cold-blooded, callous murderer. And this was a death penalty case, a possible death penalty case, because 4 murders, brutally murdered, 2 children and 2 adults. So it's later on, all the court dates, it's going to trial and they're getting on with the court dates, and it gets delayed a few times. And then Mr. Merritt, he's looking all withered. He's looking all broken. You know, that jailhouse food ain't very good, I suppose, but he's looking defeated. And then, right. Do you think he did this crime all by himself? Because, if you got 4 family members, how do you get them in the car, in their truck? Did he have a gun? Or did he have help? That's the question. Did he have help? And if so, who helped him? Where they were found, it was in the desert near Victorville, California. This is where the bodies were found. And they were found beaten to death with a hammer. Their heads were smashed in. So, is this where they were murdered? Because, I mean to say, who's going to let you smash anybody's heads in? Were they tied up? Did one have to be tied up and, he held a gun to him and said, hey, tie him up. Now I'm going to tie you up, and then tie the little kid's hands up. I'm just wondering how he ever got them to the desert, because apparently, a lousy job done on the house. They didn't seal it for a crime scene, and apparently they never said there was any blood or a fight there. So, but then again, they didn't really look, did they? Not right away. Anybody could have went back in that house and cleaned every little thing up, wiped everything down, because they never did nothing. They didn't treat it like a crime scene, just a missing persons at that time. So anyway, the bodies were found and they were hit in the head by a sledgehammer. I don't know if this murder was planned or it was a spur of the moment, but this guy knew he was in trouble with his partner, scamming the company. And I don't know where this 6,000 check came from. If it was come from him, he knew that check wasn't going to be deposited. He was going to deposit the check, but this man, the suspect, probably wanted to stop him. He just shut him up for a moment. That's all he did. But he was making sure he'd get that check back and it never got into the bank, because it probably wasn't no good anyway. Now, it's the whys and the hows, and it's the who did it. It's the who did it. Now, Joseph was 40 years old, and his wife Summer was 43 years old, and they had 2 children under the age of 5. Joey Jr. and I don't know what the other girl's name was, Janeri or something like that. Anyway, 3 and 4. That sounded like a girl's name, but anyways, they had 2 boys. But 4 years later. And one thing that's come out of this was, at least whoever found them bodies, they just happened to stumble over them in the middle of the desert, because it's big. It's big. And maybe you needed to know where you were going because you could get lost easy. Probably need a GPS to get around there or something. Anyway, one good thing about it is at least Patrick and their family got their son and daughter-in-law and their grandchildren back to give them a decent burial. Now they have them home and they know where they are. Because, many people out there never find missing persons. They're lost for a very long time, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, or never found at all. So at least, they got the family back. Well, as the trial goes on, Mr. Merritt is acting weird in court. He's having a lot of outbursts. I think he's trying to delay the case or something, probably because now it's getting on to, in March 2015, it's getting on now. And he's acting weird in court. And then he drops his lawyers. He says he only has months to live. Months to live. He only has months to live, and this trial and the information haven't come out yet. And of course, he's innocent until proven guilty. We all think he was guilty because it's just the circumstances, but anyway, so the trial's still going on. So he says he only got 3 months to live, and that might have been true because, the judge would want facts, wouldn't he? He'd want evidence. There must have been some medical records going on here. And he wants to represent himself. He will represent himself because I guess he thought he'd do a better job. Or slow it down a little bit. Slow the case down. So they'll have to reschedule court dates. That's what he's doing. So, was Mr. Merritt guilty of this crime? Was he guilty? We might never know. But these are some well-known facts about him. And there's quite a few. Phone calls and pings from the gravesite. But you know what? I don't know why they didn't get these pings in the first place, 4 or 5 years before this, at least 4 years before this. So, but anyway, pings at the gravesite. And then they had Mr. Merritt's DNA on the steering wheel of the SUV. Yeah, they had his DNA. But I bet you he could say, well, I've driven that before. I've driven it before. That's what he could say. But anyway, he also, and this is a big one, he admits to being the last person to see Joey. Last person to see Joey. Well, what I find funny about that is, how do you know you were the last person to see him? When you said you left that house, somebody else might have came to the house. How do you know you were the last person? And that's why I think he was guilty. Only the killer would know if you were the last one to speak to him, to see the family. Only the murderer would know. So guys, what do you think of that case? Let's have a discussion and give me your comments. Thank you.